Let's focus for a second on a particular issue that I know many of you will immediately recognize as vital: training of the medical personnel. And let's keep it simple. Let's not talk about people with fancy training. Let's not talk even about physicians or surgeons. Let's talk about your basic healthcare provider. It could be a nurse, could be a nurse straight out of a nursing school or a college. Could be even someone more basic than that. Think about villages all over South Asia. Think about villages in Latin America and Africa, where there are no adequately trained healthcare personnel. Maybe there's just someone who's taken a short course in taking a temperature, administering some over-the-counter drugs, taking the blood pressure, things of that nature. How do I know, as a patient, as an entrepreneur, as an investor, that something that I'm about to engage with has such minimally but importantly trained medical personnel who are adequate to the task that they are supposed to be doing? How do I know that the healthcare worker actually knows what he or she is doing, and that somebody is standing behind that certification? Now, this turns out to be a very difficult task. The sheer number of people that are needed in the tens, even hundreds of thousands, even millions over time, in a country as big as India or any of the other big developing countries, tells you that the act of training these folks is a gargantuan one. And I would submit that even the act of certifying and assessing these healthcare workers over time is an equally Sisyphean task. It's almost like, pushing the boulder up the hill and the boulder keeps rolling down, because you don't know how frequently these folks need to be trained again. You don't know how quickly attrition will occur and their ranks need to be replenished, etc. So there are two solutions to this in India's case that are currently being attempted that are both very promising, and I wanted to mention them because they illustrate many different points. And really what's going on over here is that the two examples that I'm about to give you are attempts to redress the institutional void of certifying quality. The quality in question here is the quality of the minimally trained healthcare worker. Since there is no pre-existing method of certifying quality, two entities have independently and then collectively come together to try to create a reproducible, reliable, standardized method of certifying quality for healthcare workers. And that could go a long way in making sure that good care is delivered in a way that provides sanctity of the healthcare transaction, and also, much more importantly, peace of mind to the patient as well as the doctor. The first of these entities is a government-funded entity called the National Skill Development Corporation, NSDC, run by a lovely gentleman named Dilip Chenoy, based in New Delhi, funded by the government. And its task is to take care of vocational training, assessment, and certification and continuous education in all manners of occupations. So I actually forget how many occupations they deal with, but I want to say that it's in the dozens, if not hundreds. Think of auto mechanics, think of cooks and chefs, think of healthcare workers, think of ambulance drivers, think of gardeners, just about anything that requires a small amount of education in a precise, socially important task that needs to be reproducible. But there has to be a mechanism to take tens of millions of young people and advise them what are they naturally suited for. Do they have the manual dexterity to do A or B? Do they have the conceptual ability to do C or D, etc.? That channeling task has to be done. They then have to be trained, and then somebody has to certify ex post that they've done a great job. So NSDC doesn't actually do all this stuff. What it does is it tries to act as a catalyst. It tries to provide low-interest loans or interest-free loans to different entrepreneurs in the system who are addressing these different needs. That's its function, and I think it's been a very interesting start. It's, of course, just at the very beginning of its efforts over the last, I'd say, 2 or 3 years, and probably has a generation of effort to train tens of millions of India's youth. But it's a great mechanism that the government has put in place. It's got a robust infrastructure to get things done, and it's on its way.